Now let's jump in to pick 2. The Charlotte Hornets. This is kind of where the draft starts. This is a really important decision. And it really comes down, I would imagine, to 2 names, Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson. As Trader Cause in my Twitter comments put in, currently the odds for the second overall pick are minus 130 for Brandon Miller, minus 110 for Scoot Henderson. My read on this is this thing is like genuinely wide open, and we will see what happens. Mitch Kupchak did a press junket after, like did a press conference, a mini Zoom in from wherever he was in Charlotte or wherever he was in his hotel in Chicago to meet with the media of Charlotte. Nick Carboni of WCNC screen recorded it and everything and put out this video on Twitter, and it made Charlotte fans lose their fucking mind. So let's play this clip. Shout out to Nick. I want to make sure and give him credit. Thank you for grabbing this. Let's play the clip.
Question that we're going to take the best available player. And that's been, our position for the last 3 or 4 years when you're trying to accumulate talent. And, I don't think we're where we need to be from a talent level, but we've got a lot more talent now than we did 2 or 3 years ago. So I think we can be a little bit picky, and take into consideration, not only the overall talent, but also the position.
So that's Mitch Kupchak talking about the Charlotte Hornets at number 2 and what they can kind of consider. I understand why that made Hornets fans lose their fucking mind. This is a team that won 27 games last year. They look, I really like LaMelo Ball. I think he's like definitely a guy. He could be the guy. We don't know if he's the guy yet that like brings you to compete for an NBA championship, right? Those guys are a little bit different. Like LaMelo might be that guy. I think the odds are against it just because the level that you have to reach to be that kind of player is so obscenely high. But LaMelo, I think like is one of the few guys in the league where it's like, okay, I will accept an argument for it. Around him, you have some guys, but like, you don't really have enough. Like, Miles Bridges is a wild card here, obviously. The Hornets will have to make a decision on him. They have his restricted free agency rights. We'll see what they do there. I don't want to talk about Miles Bridges at all. But like, other than that, PJ Washington is a restricted free agent. They have to make a decision on him, right? Like, Terry Rozier is signed for 2 more years, like 3 more years, basically. The full, it looks like, 25, 26 is like almost fully guaranteed. So yeah, like they have Rozier for 3 more years. They have Cody Martin for 2 more. They have Nick Richards for 2 more. The James Bouknight pick looks like it's not going to work out. Maybe it does. Maybe he's like a late bloomer in some regard, but that looks like kind of a miss based off of what we've seen so far. I think Mark Williams showed some things. Like, I think that he was really quite impressive late in the season. Their defense was actually really good late in the season.
Yeah. Yes.
They finished 6th in the league, I believe, from February 14th onward, over the course of the latter part of the season. So like, that's a thing, I guess. And Mark Williams, I think, is a big part of that. Kai Jones, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that, based on what we've seen, looks like it could be a miss. He was always a project coming in, but I don't think we've seen enough from him to like really feel confident that that's a hit yet. I was never really a JT Thor guy. Were you?
No, nor a Kai Jones guy. Nope.
Yeah. They have Dennis Smith, who's an unrestricted free agent. Dennis, I think, was actually the biggest reason why the defense was really good late in the season. I think he was really terrific. Who knows if he'll be back? Kelly Oubre is an unrestricted free agent. And then again, like PJ Washington is like their young guy and then they have the Gordon Hayward deal, which has one more year left at $31.5 million. So what do you have around LaMelo Ball that makes you think you have enough right now to contend? Because you're not a free agency market. Like, we need to be real about that. Like, Charlotte, not a free agency market. I really struggle. I really struggle with it. At the end of the day, in terms of like what they're actually going to do on draft night, I think this was like a total Mitch Kupchak, just like trying to keep all options on the table answer. Like, I don't think he was tipping that they're going to pick Brandon Miller. I think that he was trying to like tip to other GMs potentially, like, we will consider Brandon Miller. We will consider Scoot Henderson. All of our options are on the table. Come to us with offers, everything like that. Right.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, at the very least, this is a very open discussion. This is not just Scoot Henderson, who has long been considered the likely number 2 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. This will be an open conversation. And in terms of the way that Charlotte is building moving forward, they are considering fit at a time where I think they probably should not be considering fit.
So I always believe that in the top 4, 5, 6, maybe even a little bit further down in a really good draft, you always take best player available, because those are the times and you are drafting for your franchise tentpole stars. And if you find a guy who can become that and you're most confident in him doing so, you take the guy you're most confident in to do that. And the rest of the pieces you can figure out and fit later. Now, you and I had a conversation less than a week ago after the Hornets ended up number 2, after the lottery and the ping pong balls fell the way that they did, about some of the challenges that there could be on the defensive end of the floor for LaMelo Ball and Scoot Henderson tandem together. But I agree with you. I am not reading into this too much to say they're favoring Brandon Miller. They're going to make a decision that's more influenced by fit than it is by overall talent. I think this is trying to win the media game in terms of influencing other general managers who might be interested in trading up to 2 to up their offer for the certain guy that they want, to not know what Charlotte's going to do in that position. It's too early for them to even be locked into one guy. So this is less about trying to prep everybody for, hey, we're going for Miller, and it might be controversial. I think he's just, like you said, trying to keep the options open.
I think that's right. I would just obviously like very strongly implore them to not consider fit at this point. You need to take the best player available. If you think that's Brandon Miller, like, I don't agree, but totally cool. Right. Like, I think that Brandon is at least close enough to Scoot. And I've talked to enough people around the league that feel like Brandon is better than Scoot to where I will accept that as an outcome.
Sure.
Don't do it for the wrong reasons, and don't do it for the wrong process is what I would say. If you have Scoot Henderson higher on your board, take Scoot Henderson.
Yes.
By the way, like, here's the other thing. This isn't me comparing Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson in any way, shape, or form. I want to be very clear about that. Scoot Henderson is like a wild competitor.
Yes.
Like, this is me totally speculating. Do not aggregate this in any way. I find it somewhat hard to believe that Michael Jordan is not going to be very impressed by him when he does like a workout in an interview, in terms of just like the competitive drive, like the fire, the aggressiveness that he plays with, the aggressiveness that like kind of permeates out of his pores, kind of. I find it hard to believe that Michael Jordan's not going to love that dude. Just be like, I'm being completely honest with it. That again, that comes from no inside information. I don't know if they've met. I don't know if they met at the combine, whatever. Right. I just find it hard to believe that he's not going to love that dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I look, if we're watching the playoffs right now, we're seeing culture matter, right? The Miami Heat doing what they're doing and continuing to play against the odds and take down teams that are on paper more talented than them. They have a superior culture. They have the most competitive dudes in the building, and they have synergy and belief in what they're doing. I don't know if the Charlotte Hornets, while they might have talent or even more talent than you or I kind of give them credit for right now, I don't think they have that beacon of the culture yet. And a lot of these young teams who have drafted really good players recently, they're engaging personalities, they're versatile offensive players. Scoot Henderson is literally a culture driver. That is what we know him to be, with his work ethic, with just how insatiable he is to command the moment, but still make the right play for his team. I would want to build around that guy. So this is less about a fit argument, and it's less about a skill argument than it is like Scoot Henderson just kind of has it. And if I'm Charlotte, a team that for 20 years hasn't had a player who's had it in the building in that regard from a culture driving process, I would want him. And quite frankly, I'm pretty clear on this. I would rather have Scoot Henderson than LaMelo Ball. I would.
And I'll be honest with, like, I think Kemba Walker was someone like that.
Sure.
Like I do. I want to give some of the like past Hornets a little bit of flowers, right? Like I think Gerald Wallace like was certainly like a big time driver of, you know, making sure that things were getting done the right way. And then I don't want to say that LaMelo doesn't do that either. It's just that his play on the court is a bit wild and it's a bit all over the place. I agree with you. As prospects, I had Scoot higher than LaMelo. I did and do. I really like LaMelo. I had LaMelo as number one in that class. I loved him. But I think Scoot's a little bit better prospect. I'm a big fan. Yeah. I think they can play together. I said that on lottery night. Like, I think they'd be great playing together. I think they'd be tremendous together. They'd be an awesome transition attack. Scoot has some of those like abilities to create shots in the mid-range late in the shot clock that LaMelo has a little bit of, but tends to take like tougher shots later in the shot clock. Step backs into like the 27-foot range as opposed to like being able to create downhill and create in the mid-range like Scoot can. I think that Scoot's ability to be a power rim attack player would mesh well with some of LaMelo's more like finessey, kind of crafty ball handling and playmaking. I really truly think that they would mesh incredibly well together on the court. And I would love to see it. I also think there's a real case for them taking the wing who can really play in Brandon Miller because they need wings. But I don't think they're close to like trying to jumpstart this thing yet either.
Right.
I think they need to continue to accumulate the best talent possible. And that is where I think Mitch Kupchak's quote would worry me if I was a Charlotte Hornets fan. Even though I do think in terms of tipping the hand, I don't think that was a thing there.
Agree. But I like the way you said it. If you have Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson, fine. Take the right player that you think is going to be the best one. Just don't do it for the wrong reasons. Don't do it because of fit.